Hello and welcome to the Today's Homeowner Weekly Podcast. We're here to help you with the challenges we all face as homeowners. I'm Danny Lifford.
And I'm Joe Truini. And each week, Danny and I are here on the podcast to answer any and all home improvement questions.
And we want to hear from you. Send us your questions or comments at todayshomeowner.com/podcast.
Okay, Danny, let's get started.
Today's Homeowner Podcast is brought to you by the Home Depot. How doers get more done. This week, we're going to talk about the feasibility of painting or refinishing an old bathtub. There's a lot of controversy about that, but we have some real current information for you about that and whether or not it's feasible. Also, tips on saving water when you're watering your lawn. Very important that a lot of times you can waste a lot of money and water by not watering properly. You know, concrete pavers should look good for a long time, but there are a few things that you need to do, including sealing them, and a lot of people aren't aware of that. Hey, another thing that should look really good is your concrete that you have around your house. If you have some concrete that's looking bad, we have a few options for you there as well. What about using metal studs instead of wood studs? People are considering that because of the high price of lumber right now. We'll give you the pros and cons of that. And also, what about a simple solution, Joe?
All right, Danny, this time of year, ants are often a problem in the garden and in the house. I have a simple solution on how to make a non-toxic ant trap. Using, of all things, sugar and a waffle.
A waffle? Oh,
a
man,
waffle.
I've got
not
to
hear...
hear...
Not a waffle iron. You're not trapping him in the iron, but an actual waffle.
I've got to hear about this one. Well, get ready. We've got a lot to cover. Let's get started. Right now, we're going to go right to the hotline and see if we can help Mary out with a question.
Hi, this is Mary Fendi. I am wondering if you guys have ever done painting on a tub without having to remove it. I have seen different stuff from Home Depot to paint tubs, and I was just wondering what your thoughts on that are.
Well, Joe, you know, that's one of those questions that we've gotten quite a bit, and we've talked about a fair amount, and I don't really know where I am on the whole thing. Now, for years and years and years, there were no DIY kits, and you would get the guys that would have the franchises or kind of specialized in refinishing tubs or sinks or anything, you know, in place. And, of course, they came in and they had their caustic, incredibly smelly materials that they use there to coat that tub. And then the do-it-yourself friendly ones that came out that we've had a few of our folks in our office use it without really good results. And they talked about how incredibly labor intensive it is, and they weren't really satisfied with the look. I also heard someone recently that was selling a home, and he said, you know what I did to the tub? It was so easy. I taped that thing off. I cleaned it. I put a little mineral spirits on it, and then I sprayed some appliance white paint on it that you would paint a refrigerator with. And he said it just looked great. And I said, well, how long do you think it'll last? He goes, well, I'm planning on selling the house, so it doesn't really matter. Now, that's the wrong way to look at it.
That's the wrong way, yeah.
But you know, yes, you can paint it. Yes, you can use some of these. But what do you think we should tell Mary on this one? Because most DIYers, I don't think, realize how labor-intensive and how tough some of those DIY kits are.
Yeah, I guess your three options would be either they're usually labeled tub and tile refinishing kit. I think Rust-Oleum makes one that's really popular. But in any case, you can try doing it yourself. You can hire a professional who will come in and do it. And the third option is, I think it's called bath fitters, where they come in with I guess it's an acrylic, some kind of plastic acrylic tub that they just glue down over your existing tub. How they can have a mold of every tub in the whole country, I have no idea, because it has to fit. Exactly.
I think I talked to one of the guys. I think they said somewhere around 600 different ones.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That they have, and they have this little laser device that they come in and set up, and then it just plots it. It just shoots
measures it, right?
Little I don't know, rays with their ray gun. They got a ray gun, and they shoot little rays all over. And then they, it goes into their laptop, and it tells exactly the sizing on it.
Yeah.
They match it with their factory and everything. It's pretty amazing. And they actually make a template, like a skin, a real thin one, that they drop in to verify it before they make the real one.
Well, there you go. But what you end up with that is really a new tub.
Right.
It's sitting right. You don't have to remove the old tub. It sits right on top of the tub. So that's the most expensive option. And if you do attempt to do it yourself, there are a couple of steps that if you read the directions, which you definitely should read and follow specifically every single detail they give you, is to prepare it and ventilate. I can't tell you how important that is, to prep the surface exactly as they tell you to do it. Otherwise, it's going to fail. The top coat's going to fail. And you have to ventilate. And I'm not talking about just opening up a window. You got to open up a few windows, get some fans going, because this is not, this is pretty noxious stuff. So take that seriously.
But I think it's worth a try, though. I mean, you
Sure.
never know how long it'll last. If you follow the instructions and give it your absolute best effort, then immediately the tub's going to look a lot better than it did before, of course, especially if you're, have, like you mentioned earlier, a lavender tub or one of those nice pink ones, and you want to make it white. It's going to be a tremendous difference there. Then you just have to see really how long it'll last. But it's worth a try. It's not a really expensive investment that you'll have there in order to give it a try. So if anybody has refinished a tub like this, and has a story about it, good, bad, or indifferent, we'd love to hear from you by calling us on the hotline, 800-946-4420, or drop us an email if you'd like, todayshomeowner.com/ask. I want to share with you a few landscape watering tips, but a perfect time of the year right now to think about this, because most of us know that having a thick green lawn and lush gardens requires a lot of work, and that includes watering from time to time. Unfortunately, that can lead to some pretty outrageous water bills, so managing your water use in the landscape is a key part of that. Now, in the United States, we use about 7 billion gallons of water a day for landscape irrigation, and the best way to control that is to reduce the need for watering. For starters, you can add a generous layer of mulch around your plants. About 3 to 5 inches of mulch will help prevent evaporation and retain more moisture around the roots of the plants. And of course, it also is great for choking out a lot of those weeds that can really plague a garden this time of the year. Next, when you mow your lawn, raise the blade up a notch or two, because shorter grass requires a lot more watering, so cut it a little higher will make your lawn less needy for water. Now, while you're at it, use a mulching mower. Now, this will return the clippings to the lawn, which feeds the lawn, slows evaporation, and saves a lot of time on your mowing. Also, don't apply fertilizer when the weather is really hot and dry. In these conditions, fertilizing will actually aggravate the problems associated with drought and put a lot more stress on your plants. Finally, when you add new plants, choose those that are native to your region, since they will actually require less watering. These tips brought to you by Exmark, the official mowers of the backyard life. And for more great ideas and inspiration for your outdoors, drop by exmark.com/backyard. A lot of videos on there. Matter of fact, we were with our friends at Exmark just last week doing several other videos just to help you with enhancing your backyard life. So again, exmark.com/backyard. Alrighty, well, let's get to today's homeowner hotline, and let's see what we can do to help out Neil in Minnesota. Neil, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Tell us about this paver patio that you have that you're working on.
Well, in August, we put in a paver patio with a square fire pit and a paver walkway. What I'm wondering about is there anything I can apply to keep the pavers from fading and losing their color, and how to go about doing that, and what's the best way to do that most efficiently?
Well, Neil, the thing that most people don't realize is when you put down pavers, although they're virtually indestructible, they should be sealed. They should be sealed with a masonry clear sealer, and that does a few things. First, especially if you live up north, as you do in Minnesota, it helps seal out water, so you won't have water seeping in, then possibly freezing and expanding and cracking anything, but also deters fading. If you get one that has a UV block in it, it'll deter fading. Now, it's going to fade eventually if it's out in the sun over several years, but the good thing about the sealer is it's literally almost like water. You can't over apply it. You can put it on every year if you need to. Now, if you've got a paver patio that's already badly faded, the clear sealer is obviously it's going to add protection, but it's not going to help with the fading. So then you'd have to apply a masonry dye. Sometimes they're called colorants, which that comes in several different colors, and you just brush it on, roll it on, spray it on, however you need to. And that would change the color. And then when that's fully dry, then you can seal it. Then you can put on a clear seal. And I would do that at least once a year. Now you're up in Minnesota, so probably 6 months of the year it's under snow, so the sun might not be an issue. But I would definitely do it at least once a year if you want to maintain that color. I mean, is it going to eventually fade? Yeah, I mean, it's, of course, you're not going to keep it that same color, just like a stained wood deck or stained wood fence. I mean, how often do you have to stain it to maintain that color? It's not going to stay that way forever. But that's what I would suggest. And they also have some wet look. They're called wet look sealers, which give kind of a glossy look. If you like that look, you can try that as well.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. And if you're looking, I mean, you can get these. Yeah, you can get these at any home center or any place that sells pavers. Would probably sell a professional grade sealer, which would be pretty expensive, but would probably last a lot longer than a more inexpensive one.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much.
All right, Neil. Good luck.
Okay, our pleasure, Neil. Thanks a lot, and best of luck on your project. We really appreciate you sending in emails to us this week, and you can send us one right now if you'd like. today'shomeowner.com/ask. Bill from Kentucky wrote in, our basement garage is pretty much the main entrance to the house for most of our family and friends. So I want to clean it up a little, including the ugly concrete floor. What can I do to dress it up that'll be able to deal with the humidity of the basement and the abuse that comes along in a garage? Well, Bill, actually, a lot of people have a similar situation like that. You want a good-looking floor, but it needs to be tough enough, especially where it is. So for most applications, I usually recommend one of the Deitch coating products, just like I have in my garage, because I use them, with a lot of different situations. But I have kind of the same thing. A lot of my friends and family come right in through the garage to come in. Now, their Terrazzo decorative granite resurfacer has recently gotten a new formula, and it might be just what you're looking for. It's self-priming and can be applied both indoors or out because it's tested for water, salt, chemicals, impact, and abrasion resistance. Plus, the real stone coating resists hot tire pickup, mold, and mildew. Now, if that's not enough, it's also UV brittle resistant and handles freeze and thaw conditions with ease. Not to mention that application is a snap because you simply just roll it on with a paint roller. Best of all, there are 6 different colors available, so you can really upgrade your floor. So, Bill, what you need to do is go to DeitchCoatings.com/terrazzo, and Deitch is spelled DAICH coatings.com, and they'll have some great videos on there, a lot of different options for you, and can answer any of your questions that you may have that can make a big difference on any concrete slab you have, whether it's around your pool, your steps, your front porch, back porch, whatever. It's a great way to completely change the look of it. All right, well, let's go to today's homeowner hotline. Lainey is on the phone with us right now. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks a lot. Boy, I am so excited.
Well, good. Well, we hope we will keep you excited, and I hope we can answer your questions. So tell us what's going on with this paint job you're talking about.
Okay, Danny, just let me say this first.
right.
I make my husband watch your show so he'll get the idea of what we need to do, okay?
Oh, well, I hope you don't have to, hold a gun to him or anything. I hope he...
Well, no, he's willing. He's willing.
Good. Well, we appreciate that. We're having a lot of fun, and we'll be seeing a lot of brand new shows coming out very, very soon.
Great. Yeah, my question is, when I moved in my house 30 years ago, I painted everything throughout the house beige, bone colored, and I had some paneling also. So I'm wondering, it's time to freshen up. So do I paint it all the same color throughout again, or do I try different, colors?
Well, I'll tell you what, a lot of times, and all of this is personal preference, and I've always liked to have the majority of the house the same color, and then to feature a few rooms here and there, maybe do the bedroom a different color, bathroom a different color, and maybe even in one of the main areas, say around the dining area, is maybe just put a bold color on one of the walls, kind of as an accent. Just to change it up. And then when you start looking at a lot of the trendy colors, you'll see that a lot of people are using grays and muted grays, which will still brighten up the area and give you a nice, clean look to it. But boy, it's such a personal preference and so hard to make that decision on those colors sometimes.
Okay, so are we talking about a lighter gray, medium gray?
I would go with a lighter. I would go with a lighter gray. Matter of fact, I'm looking at my wall in my studio right now, and I have that exact thing, and I like it a lot. I mean, some people can look at it in certain light and it almost looks white, but then when you put something gray up near it, then it looks, looks a little gray as well. So. And you can always just try it out on one wall in one room. Just get you a small sample. Just try it out. Take a look at it for a few days, and then you'll know if you're comfortable to do the whole room or part of the room.
Okay. Do you think that'll work on the paneling too? Because it's got those ridges in it,
Yeah. Well, you can paint paneling, and there's a lot of different ways that you can approach a room that has paneling in there. I mean, the biggest effect, of course, is it'll brighten it up because the paneling, does soak up a lot of the light. But we have a lot of great videos at todayshomeowner.com that deal with different ways to paint paneling or completely camouflage all of the grooves that you have in the paneling and make a dramatic difference in that. So you might check out some of those videos. But the one thing about it, though, Lainey, you don't have to do it all at one time. You can just do one or two rooms, see how you like it, and that'll inspire you to do the rest.
Great. Thanks so much, and keep up the good work.
Well, thank you very much. And tell your husband, hang in there. We'll have some good shows for him.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's awfully nice. That's an enthusiastic homeowner right there, right, Joe? Absolutely.
And her husband's going to be buying paint very soon, I suspect.
It sounds like it. What are some of the tips that you would have, Joe, when someone is struggling, like a lot of us do, when we have all of those different colors? You have in your mind what color you want, you think, you walk in, and all of a sudden you're assaulted with 700 colors. What is your thoughts in kind of narrowing that down?
Well, I tell you, the one thing I've noticed is if I go into a friend's house and I see a wall painted a color that I really like, it's often a color I would never pick for my own home. And I make note of it. I find out, well, what color did you use there? And they usually end up in the basement rummaging around trying to find the can of paint with the name on it. So I would say if you see a color, find out what color that is and then try it. But I was going to suggest an accent wall because that's a really quick and easy way. You don't have to change 3 of the walls. You only have to paint that one wall. And the other thing is you can try wainscoting, either actual wainscoting halfway up or just put a chair rail and some vertical wood strips or something and create a mock wainscoting, and then you could paint that a different color than the wall above, or leave the wall above the same color and only paint the wainscoting, and that would give the room a whole different look as well.
Right, especially if you've been, enduring many years of the same color. Just a little something, just a little subtle change can make a big, big difference in the overall look of it. So hope we've been able to share with you a few things that'll help you if you're about to paint a room at your house. Time for our best new product segment, brought to you by the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Warmer weather means all of us will be more active than usual, but hey, we're not the only ones. The insects in and around our home are also extra busy this time of the year, so it's important to find a safe way to eliminate them. Zevo Instant Action Aerosol Ant, Roach, and Spider Spray is a really good option because this insect killer uses a bioselective formula. That's a fancy sounding term that simply means this formula targets the nervous system receptors active only in insects, not in people or any pets. Plus, the formula uses plant oils instead of traditional synthetic chemicals. The spray is an easy-to-use aerosol that can be used indoors or out to keep the creepy crawlers at bay and your family safe. So you might be interested in this particular way of controlling all of those insects around the house. And for more information on the Zevo Instant Action Aerosol Ant, Roach, and Spider Spray, log on to homedepot.com. Let's roll right into some emails. We want to hear get an email from you. todayshomeowner.com/ask. Chris wrote one in that says, when my house was built, the electrical boxes in the family room were attached to the studs to accommodate the 1/4-inch paneling that was installed over 1/2-inch drywall. I removed the paneling, but now the boxes stick out too far for the outlet covers to sit flush with the wall. Do you know if anyone makes a deep outlet cover or even a trim plate for around the outlet box to fill the gap? Haven't had much luck finding anything at my local home improvement store. I know exactly what he's talking about.
Sure.
If because that's very common to install a 1/4-inch paneling over drywall. The thing that I question here, though, it's also normal practice to glue the paneling to the drywall and nail it. And usually when you tear that paneling off, that drywall surface is not suitable, even if you tried to float it out for a nice looking wall. So possibly here, this is a situation where they only nailed the paneling over there and he has a usable drywall behind it, which is great. But what do you do about those outlets sticking out 1/4 of an inch like that? What are your thoughts on that? Because I've never heard of any kind of outlet that would accommodate that.
Well, I tell you what, when I go to an electrical supply house, a place that specifically sells products to electricians and are open to the general public, I am amazed at the products they have, and they have something for every single situation, and they have one for this as well. Often a box is too far in the wall, and you can't reach it, so they have extension rings that allow you to bring it out. But in this case, where the box is sticking out, they make a thing called deep switch plate and outlet covers.
No
and
kidding.
It's basically it's a raised outlet cover or a switch plate, depending on, in this case, it'll be for the outlets. But and it's big. The only way to describe it, it's like a thick outlet cover, and it's got like a plastic flange or rim around it, and it just sticks out. So it allows you to put it on a box that is protruding or standing proud of the wall. So that's what he needs to do. Now, he's not going to find it at a home center, as he discovered, so he would have to go to an electrical supply house.
There you go, Chris. Another solution there. I was not aware of that, but as you said, Joe, you go to electrical supply house that the professionals use. They've got everything you can imagine, and that reminds me of one very useful thing when we've had a lot of calls about people installing backsplashes and cutting around the outlets, and suddenly the outlet is recessed too far. They have the little spacers that are made for that to make it nice and safe, instead of trying to wedge a piece of wood in there or anything, or build it up with washers. They actually have the spacers that'll do that to allow that to be done very safely. So good advice there.
DIY means sawdust, work gloves, and the right tools. But at the Home Depot, the right tools means more than hammers and saws. It means a mobile app with built-in image search. That's a tool. Access an entire rental department with a swipe. That's another tool. For any project, start to finish, this isn't just DIY. This is doing like never before. This is the Home Depot, how doers get more done. Download our mobile app to get started.
One thing we get a lot of emails and calls about is how much people like Joe's simple solution, because there's so many little things around your home that may aggravate you, and you wonder, how can I fix this little thing? Well, that's what Simple Solutions is all about. Joe, share another one with us.
All right, Danny, here's how to fix an ant problem. And this can be inside your house, outside your house. I know a friend of mine used this in her garden because I'm not sure why they were being attracted. Maybe she was using compost around the plants and was attracting ants, but there were lots of ants. So here you go. Here's a safe, non-toxic way to get rid of ants. And you're going to start with a small plastic tub with a lid. You can use one. She was using one that was from an empty, I think it was sour cream or cream cheese container. It could be a yogurt container, any small little tub with a plastic lid. And you're going to drill 4 evenly spaced holes through the sides of the tub, just maybe 3/16 inch diameter, and through the sides of the tub about a 1/2 inch up from the bottom. All right. And then next, in a small bowl, mix 3 teaspoons of sugar, 1 teaspoon of borax, which you can get at any home center or hardware store, and 1/4 cup of warm water. Mix it. You want to use warm water because you want to dissolve the sugar. So mix it really well. And then put a piece of like a frozen waffle, or you can use a piece of bread, but waffle works really well. Break off a small enough piece that it fits into the bottom of this container, and then pour into the tub and over the piece of waffle the sugar water mixture, the sugar borax water mixture. And the idea is you want to completely soak the bread. You don't want to leave a puddle on the bottom, but you want to soak the bread. Snap on the lid and set the tub wherever you see ants. What happens is the trap will start attracting ants within a day or two, and the ants will eat the borax-soaked bread and then carry bits of it back to the colony to feed the other ants, and ends up killing anybody and anything that eats those little bits of waffle or bread or whatever you put in there. And if you check the tub, unsnap it, check it every 2 or 3 days. You can add a little more sugar water as necessary, replace the waffle or a piece of bread as you need to. And within really a week or two, you'll see a dramatic reduction in the number of ants in that area. And you can, of course, put 2 or 3 of these around if you need to.
Now it's time for our podcast question of the week. This comes from Gene in Wisconsin. Last summer, we rebuilt our brick paver patio to eliminate moss and weeds and re-level for proper drainage. We used polymeric sand between the pavers. Living in Wisconsin, due to ground shifting between summer and winter conditions, we did not seal the pavers. Now, we're concerned about having continual touch-up and maintenance and didn't want to have a gloss finish, but would like to keep the stone's color. So the question would be, what would you recommend sealing the brick patio if we should do it, and what type of material should we use? Well, Joe, this is another thing that we hear quite a bit, and
yes.
No matter where you live, it's a great idea. Once you put the pavers in place, make sure they're nice and clean, everything kind of settled down, and then just spray on top of that, over all the grout joints and everything, a masonry sealer. It's a clear material, it's very liquidy, and you can put it in a garden sprayer and just spray 2 or 3 coats on it in at one time, and really does help. First of all, Joe, when we do this on a lot of the paver patios that we've built with our friends at Pavestone, first of all, it really makes the color come out and really enhances the look of it without it being glossy. You can go with a glossy one, if you want, but most people want to keep more of a matte finish to it. But it's amazing what it'll do for the look of it, but also for the longevity of it.
Yeah, because you want to seal it so that it doesn't fade, which is the other problem, but also protect it from cold weather and ice and everything else. And you want a penetrating sealer, not just a top coat. Avoid anything that's like a paint or anything like that. And the very best penetrating sealers to use on pavers or masonry in general, it's a hybrid sealer. And it's hybrid because it's both a silane and siloxane sealer, and I'll spell that for our listeners because it's an odd name. It's silane, which is SILANE, then siloxane, which is SILOXANE, and those are, you can buy one or the other, and this is a hybrid which uses both of those chemicals. But in any case, they make the absolute best penetrating sealer for paver. So hunt out one of those. It might be a little more expensive, but they're long lasting and they do a great job of sealing those pavers.
And this is really the same material that you would use on just about any masonry surface. If you're having some problems with leaks in your chimney, that's the material that you could use. Or if you really want to make that driveway and walkway look a little bit better, clean it thoroughly, let it dry, and apply the same type of masonry sealer. You'll be really surprised what a difference it makes, and it'll help you keep it cleaner a lot longer. Hey, thanks so much for listening to this podcast, and we appreciate you sending us in any comments that you would like to send. It's very easy. Today'sHomeowner.com/podcast. Thanks again for those great reviews we've been getting, and thanks for spending some time with Joe and I here on this Today's Homeowner podcast. We'll see you soon.